everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back to Book Witches with the Bee. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes.
And Happy Hanukkah. Kwanzaa and any other religious end-of-year
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays,
There
yes.
we go. There's lots of them. There's also non-religious holidays. There's a lot of holidays, because Kwanzaa's technically non-religious.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I only know what they taught me in elementary school, which was that Kwanzaa also happens in December, so I'm sorry.
It does. But it is non-religious.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. I'm here. I moved over our little 2-week break.
She's here. She's back.
I'm back.
She came back to me.
I came back.
Yeah.
I started a new job on Monday.
Yay!
You
are a finance person now.
I'm a finance person now.
It's a finance job. So finance bro. Well, kind of.
I'm a finance bro.
Right.
So the way that I made it make sense in my mind is that I work in payroll, which is in the finance department of this company, and the company is a financial company.
So
full
I
finance
am bro.
Full finance bro now. So let's go to the chapter summary. Woohoo!
Woo!
Because I was moving and I had a really hard time, preparing for the podcast and everything, I found a really good chapter recap website. I'll put the information in the bio. So we left off last episode with Feyre and Rhysand landing on the balcony of the House of Wind.
Yes. Okay.
And we did jump the gun a little bit, introduce these two characters.
It's fine.
By name, even though we didn't have their names yet because we were too excited.
They're amazing.
They are Cassian and Azriel.
Sorry, that was probably really loud in
That's
the microphone.
okay. It's fine.
Turn that down, Orsa.
So, chapter 16. Cassian and Azriel arrive, and Feyre describes them as dark-haired and tan-skinned males. She notes Cassian has shoulder-length black hair and that Azriel is the most classically beautiful of the two of them, but notes he has burn scars on his hands. Both wear gauntlets on their hands with stones in them. Azriel's are cobalt and Cassian's are red. Azriel is Rhysand's spy master, and Cassian commands his armies. This information about the spy master and the armies is given by Rhysand, which is cool.
That is interesting. Yeah, he's very upfront about it.
Yeah. Next, we are introduced to Mor. That's not in this, but I did actually read this one part. So
great.
We are then introduced to Mor, and I think it's really interesting to note that when she comes in, she is wearing that red gown that we mostly associate that character with.
She wears a lot of red.
So not only did Feyre not react to the red carpets that we talked about last time, she also didn't react to the red on Cassian's siphons, and she does not react to Mor's red dress at all.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, she's probably so overwhelmed by meeting new people.
That's
I feel like
true.
She's very socially anxious.
That's true.
But it is interesting.
Yeah. And then Mor has this fun moment where she's kind of like, come hang out with me. I want you all to myself before Amren gets here. But then Amren walks in. Amren arrives, short with chin-length black hair, tan skin, and silver eyes. Amren tells Feyre that they are alike, two people born something else and now trapped in new strange bodies. She says there is a third like them named Miriam, but that Miriam was granted a long life, not a new body. It is noted that Amren doesn't eat normal food. We suspect what she might eat.
We don't know.
But we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know yet.
We do learn.
We do learn. Rhys explains that Cassian and Azriel aren't lords. Feyre has this moment where she's like trying to get her bearings, and she calls Cassian Lord Cassian, and everyone kind of laughs.
If you know anything about this book, it is genuinely really funny.
It is. Cassian is not a lord.
He does not want to be one.
He's basically like Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa would not be a bad casting
Right?
choice for Cassian.
I agree. So Rhys explains that Cassian and Azriel are not lords. Mor is the only person in his inner circle who has a title that is also purebred. And Feyre has this moment where she's like, not you, the High Lord of the Night Court, and he admits, no, he is half Illyrian, actually. Mm-hmm. And apparently Azriel and Cassian are also actually bastards. Like, they both have kind of tragic backstories. They're pretty tragic backstories.
Both awful. Did we learn that here or later?
We learned that here.
Oh, we learned all of that here?
Yeah, we learned all of it here.
Oh gosh.
So
buckle up, y'all.
Buckle up. Rhysand tells Feyre that even he isn't considered High Fae because he's half Valyrian. So High Fae are very protective of their status as High Fae.
So they're literally purebloods, which is stupid.
Yeah, it's gross.
Stupid.
None of his inner circle were under the mountain, as Amarantha didn't know they existed. Feyre realizes that all of the inner circle feels extremely guilty for whatever Rhys had to do to keep them safe. So to change the subject, she asks how they all met. Cassian and Azriel are both bastards. Well, she does say that here. Mm-hmm. Azriel was the bastard of a local lord, and Cassian was the bastard of a war camp laundress and a random warrior. They say that Illyrians hate bastards. The word bastard has now been used several times, and I apologize, everyone.
I guess language warning?
Yeah, language warning.
We're adults, but if
fine.
there's children in the room,
yeah.
This book is not for
It's children. Not for children, no.
Also. This one in particular, very adult.
Yes. As Azriel went to Cassian's camp when his father realized that he was a shadow singer. So we get this description of Azriel where he's like swathed in shadows that move around him. Mm-hmm. And that is the power that he has is called shadow singing. So he's a shadow singer, which is extremely rare and coveted by the courts for their stealth and predisposition to hear and feel things that others can't. Hence, spy master status.
Best spy master.
Yes.
It's like 007, but better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cassian was sent to the camp as soon as he could walk, and his mother was worked to death while he was gone at camp. He was, like, sent off to some random camp as soon as he was born, and he, like, revisited the camp that he was born at and found out that they literally worked his mother to death.
Which, I think we'll talk about it later, but sending their children off to camp is not uncommon for Illyrians. Working the women to death is more uncommon.
It's a little bit more, it's slightly more brutal than
what they are brutal. We learn, I think that's apparent, but just this chunk, the Illyrians are very brutal. But like being sent off away from your family really young, it's very like Roman and Spartan.
Yes,
inspired.
That is commonplace.
Yes.
Rhysand tells Feyre that Illyrians are backwards and brutal, especially when it comes to how they treat their females. They cripple the females so that they keep them from, so they can keep them for breeding. So basically what they do is they make a little cut on each of the female's wings so that she can't fly. Yeah. So she can't escape. It's awful.
So they don't, they basically, like they physically, so they have wings. So all Illyrians have wings that don't disappear. Like they're part of their anatomy. Mm-hmm. Very Fae of them. I think they're the most Fae.
Yes, I would say so.
They're very Fae.
Extremely.
And yeah, they basically like it's like a certain tendon essentially where I think they can't like flex their wings.
Yeah. However, even with this information, his mother loved flying, so she managed to get to 18 before she was taken to be clipped. The way that they do that when the females get their first period. Yes, so is when they do that.
Basically when you become a woman. So and similar to a lot of cultures when you come into womanhood.
So his mother, like by sheer will of force, managed to not get her period until she was 18.
Love that woman.
I know. And then when it happened, she tried to flee and was caught, but just before she could be clipped, Rhys's father happened to arrive at the camp on some business, and their mating bond clicked into place. He killed the guards immediately. It's described as misting, I think.
Oh, yeah. He just, like, snaps and they're gone.
And they're gone.
I think Rhys has done it.
Rhys.
Have we seen it, or have we not yet?
Not yet, possibly. We find out very like in this part he does it to a lemon. Basically he like takes a piece of lemon and then like he mists it, so it literally just turns into mist and disappears.
He like basically breaks it down to its root atom. Almost.
Basically. So the father like happened to arrive at the perfect opportune time. The mating bond clicked into place and he misted all of the guards around her.
That's pretty cool.
And married her that day at the night court. Rhys's mother tried for years to convince the father to stop the practice of clipping the wings of the females, but he refused for political reasons. There's all this like war and stuff happening 500 years ago. Rhys says his parents were wrong for each other, even though they were mates. His father was cold and vicious, and his mother was soft and beloved and fiery, and eventually came to hate the father. When Rhys turned 8, his mother took him to an Illyrian camp, and he was banned from using his magic at the camp because he was too powerful. He was put in the sparring ring on his first day, and Cassian beats him up.
Cassian's a big boy.
Yeah.
He's a big, brutal, strong boy.
He is. At 8 years old, Cassian had nothing. Bastards are made to find their own shelter and food. Even if they are picked for a warband, they still remain bottom ranking forever. And so basically Cassian's way of dealing with that, because he's a big boy, is he would challenge other kids to fights, and the reward would be their clothes.
Yeah, like clothes and shelter and things. Yeah.
I don't think even shelter. I think it was literally just like clothes and food.
Oh, bless his heart.
When Rhysand finds out about Cassian and the fact that he has nothing, he gets him one night and brings him to his home camp where his mother actually is. So his mother sends him to the camp, but she remains there so that she can then tutor him in, like, court education. So, like...
Because he needs both.
Yeah, so he needs to learn how to be a lord.
Yes.
He
is the future High Lord.
Yeah, and then he also needs to learn how to be an Illyrian warrior as well.
Because he's the commander over...
Yes.
I mean, kind of. He's the head of them.
He's the head of them.
Yeah, it's in his territory.
So his mother allowed Cassian to stay and then ended up tutoring him as well. Rhys notes that he and Cassian still hated each other until Azriel came into the camp later that year. Or a year later, rather. Cassian says that he doesn't have any powers like Rhys and Azriel, but the three of them are incredibly powerful. When Rhysand's father visited the camp after 20 years, he found Rhys's power was starting to rival his own, and that he had allied himself with two deadliest Illyrian warriors, being Azriel and Cassian. He was worried that one day they could turn against him, so he separated them and put them in different warbands.
Yeah.
Rhys was given a legion of Illyrians to command, Cassian was put in a different legion as a foot soldier, and Az was kept close to Rhysand's father as his personal shadow singer. They barely saw each other over the 7-year war, and Rhys was captured, and then Rhys is like, that's a story for another time.
It's a wild story.
It is a wild story. Once Rhysand became High Lord, he appointed Cassian, Azriel, Amren, and more to his inner circle, and told his father's old court that if they had a problem, they could leave, and they all did. The nobility of the Night Court then fell into 3 categories. Those who hated him but tolerated him, those are the ones who currently reside...
Under the mountain?
Under the mountain, yeah. Currently reside under the mountain in Hewn City. They stay there and rule themselves in what is known as the Court of Nightmares, and that is the court that Under the Mountain was actually based off of.
It's also the court that everyone
thinks is the Night Court.
That is the Night Court to everyone outside of this group.
Yep. Valaris, on the other hand, is known as the Court of Dreams. Moore says she was a dreamer born in the Court of Nightmares who managed to get out. They asked for Feyre's story, and she tells them the whole thing, Mother died when she was young, fell to poverty, hunted to save her family, then everything happened. Cassian says he can teach Feyre to fight, and Feyre finally realizes how ridiculous Tamlin and Ianthe's arguments were about why she couldn't learn to fight. And I actually have that highlighted to read later because it's very impactful.
It is.
Feyre tells Rhys that she'll work with him, and he says that they will start the next day. He says the King of Hybern is about to launch a war, and that he wants to resurrect Jurian to do it. The King of Hybern wants to resurrect Jurian.
Yes.
Rhys says he doesn't know why yet. He says the killings at the temples are connected somehow. And the king raided...
Got it.
The king raided a temple in Sangriva 3 days ago and is clearly looking for something. He believes the adder escaped with Jurian's eye and finger and took them to the King of Hybern. He isn't sure how they can resurrect him with just an eye and a finger, and Amren says that he needs to go and talk to the bone carver. Amren says that the only person he might talk to is Feyre, as she is an immortal with a human soul. And Rhys says the choice is Feyre's, and she agrees.
Do we get to meet the bone carver in this section?
We do. Yes. Actually, in this chapter 17.
Yay!
So, a lot happens in chapter 16. A lot happens in this entire section.
Yeah. This book moves.
This is a little spoilery, but we actually also meet the Weaver in this section.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I know. All right, chapter 17. Feyre tells Rhys that she felt him again at dinner, like his emotions and stuff, not physically, guys. Colleen.
I don't know if you know that audio that goes like, dirty mind, dirty mind. That's what just plays in my head.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyhow, if you've been on the internet somewhat, I think you would know what that is.
I'm sure other people know.
It was a very particular time on the internet. Anyhow, sorry, continue.
Feyre tells Rhys she felt him again at dinner and asks if she got through his shield, and he says no. He says The bond between them is a living thing, an open channel between them shaped by what she needed when the deal was made. She says, I needed not to die. And he says, no, you needed not to be alone when the deal was made. Feyre notes that he let Amarantha think he was delighting in ruling a court of nightmares, but it's all a front. He tells her he loves his family and his people, and to not think he wouldn't become a monster to keep them safe. She asks what the cost was to keep them safe under the mountain, and he says she already knows, being Amarantha's unwilling lover, because I'm not going to use that word.
It's not a nice one.
It's not. When she tricked the High Lords out of their powers, he was still left with more scraps than the others because he's so powerful. Mm-hmm. He managed to alter the minds of every Night Court citizen she captured, made a web between them all, and actively controlled their minds every single day so they'd forget Valaris and his inner circle. If Amarantha knew who he cared for, she would have tortured and killed them. He only had enough power left to shield and hide one place, one city, and he chose Valaris. Anyone who came near the city would see barren rock and find themselves suddenly changing their mind if they thought about trying to explore it. Feyre thinks it's a shame others in Prythian don't know that what he did to protect his people and why he was with Amarantha, and he says it doesn't matter as long as those he cares for are safe. Feyre has another nightmare of Amarantha. Oh, I lied. We're meeting the Bone Carver in the next chapter, but we're meeting him soon. Don't worry, guys.
He's met. It's fine.
It's happening. Feyre has another nightmare of Amarantha torturing her under the mountain, and Rhysand wakes her from it. She has claws of flames coming from her fingers, and she's destroyed her bedding. She runs to the bathroom to be sick, and Rhysand helps to hold her hair back and talks to her and tells her stories while she's being sick and kind of talks her through it, which is cute.
Normal decency.
Yeah.
Yes.
He then tells her that he has nightmares where it's Cassian or Azriel beneath Amarantha. She's pinned their wings to the bed with spikes and makes him see how he failed them. Feyre says he didn't fail them, but he says he did terrible things in order not to. She says she's done terrible things too. She asks where the flame powers come from. He says it is the Autumn Court. So apparently we gave away that spoiler a while ago.
Whoops.
Whoops-a-daisy.
They have, never mind. There is a quote from the, I think we get to it later. There's a very famous quote about the Autumn Court that comes from the flame thing, but I think we learn that when we meet some more of the Autumn Court later.
Oh, is it the one I'm thinking of?
They have fire in their veins, and that one, yes. It's probably the most iconic line.
It's so good.
From, their region. Yeah. Anyhow, we'll get there. You'll know when we get there. Trust me, I'll let you know.
Rhysand winnows them to an island in the Western Isles. They're going to the prison, capital P, to see the Bone Carver, and the prison is inside a mountain. The prison was made before even High Lords existed, home to the foulest and most dangerous criminals and creatures. Amren used to be a prisoner there.
Honestly terrifying.
Yeah.
The fact that Amren is just out and about.
Right?
Chill as can be, and drinks,
Yeah. So they can't actually winnow to the prison. They have to walk. And it's on another mountain. And as Feyre's looking at it with the mountains and the thought of, she just can't do it. And Rhysand doesn't make her justify it. He doesn't ask a single question. He just takes her back to Valaris.
Cute.
Where she proceeds to sleep the rest of the day. She kind of has a little bit of a relapse into her. I mean, she's come out of her depression a whole lot. She's still grieving and healing, but she has a relapse into that lazy, lazy's the wrong word.
The
lethargic.
Lethargic, yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, she had a triggering moment. It's logical.
Poor Feyre.
Well, baby.
I'm gonna drink some beer.
Beer break. Hopefully I won't knock the book over this time, although I did catch it. If audio people, I tried to reach for my beer.
Oh, yeah, you can watch this on Spotify, too.
Oh, if you're watching. I almost knocked this over, so.
It was kind of funny.
But I caught it. I have lightning fast skills.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I would survive these books. I'd be fine.
I would die.
Oh, I would also die, but I like to. Well, I mean, honestly, if I have the right motivation, I might not.
Honestly, same.
Survival is a pretty good motivation.
I guess it is, yeah. Okay, chapter 18. Amren comes to visit Feyre and gives her an amulet that she says got her out of the prison. She tells Feyre if she wears it in there, then they can never keep her. She also says that She doesn't give the amulet lightly, and she and Feyre can borrow it for the prison, but then she'll have to return it or Amren will hunt her down.
Not surprised.
Yeah. Amren, as we discussed in a previous episode, I think it was a spoiler episode if you've watched along with, is compared to a fire drake in this section of chapters.
Yes, she is.
Or a dragon.
She hoards things.
She hoards things, yes.
She likes shiny things.
Yeah. Which, honestly...
Same.
Same
with our little tiaras.
Yeah. They go back to the prison the next day, and Rhysand has a sword with him. Feyre asks if Cassian could beat him in hand-to-hand combat, and Rhysand admits yes. Cassian is the best warrior he's ever seen. Feyre asks about the scars on Azriel's hands, and Rhys explains that Azriel's father had 2 legitimate sons, both as cruel as their mother. Azriel lived with them through the first 11 years of his life, kept in a cell with no windows or light. He was let out for an hour each day. When he was 8, his brothers decided to see what would happen when you mixed an Illyrian's quick healing ability with fire and oil. Feyre asks if the brothers were punished, and Rhysand kind of goes, yeah, eventually.
Oh.
Feyre asks what Mor does, and Rhysand says that she's the person he calls in when his armies fail, and Cassian and Azriel are dead. As his third, she is the court overseer, looks after the dynamics between the Court of Nightmares and the Court of Dreams, runs both Valaris and the Hewn City, and says she would be considered a queen in the human realm. Amren is his second and his political advisor, walking library and doer of dirty work. Feyre asks what Amren will do in the event his armies fail and all others are dead. He says he would find a way to end the spell on her and unleash her on the world, and then ask her to end him first. Bleak. They enter the prison. Rhysand says the prison is a law unto itself, but it falls under his jurisdiction, and so his blood is keyed to the gates. He can't free the prisoners. Once they pass the gates, they belong to prison and can never leave. Feyre asks how long Amren was in there, and Rhysand doesn't know. Records show she was in there before the courts were formed.
She old.
And she was imprisoned for at least a few millennia.
After the courts were formed?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep. And then Feyre naturally says, where did Amren come from?
Great next question.
Rhysand says there are stories that when the world was born and there were rifts in the fabric of the realms, creatures were able to come through to their world from other worlds, and some got trapped on their way back. She asks what the bone carver is, and Rhysand says he doesn't know as he appears different to every person. Feyre will see him as one thing, and Rhysand will see him as another.
Scary.
It is. Rhysand opens the prison door and they go in. The prison door and they go in. The bone carver appears to Feyre as a little boy with dark hair and blue eyes. Creepy. So creepy.
What? It seems not creepy at first, and then when you're like thinking about like, oh, this is like a prisoner.
It was creepy immediately.
It was not creepy immediately for me.
Are you kidding?
No.
It's literally like they're like walking in this like terrifying prison under a mountain in complete darkness. And then they open the door to the bone carver and it's this like beautiful little boy.
I mean, it'd be startling, but I don't think I would think of it as creepy.
So creepy.
I would be like, why is he a child?
Creepy.
I would be more concerned about Rhys, do you keep child prisoners? Why is there a child here?
He's also called the bone carver.
Well, yeah, but that's not the worst thing she's seen at this point.
I don't know. This one is creepy to me.
No, the bone carver is creepy, but him being a small child is not
so creepy. Small children are creepy when they're in scary settings.
I do avoid horror films with children, but mostly because I don't like violence against children.
So creepy. Well, I mean, yeah, also that.
So I just don't like watching them.
So Rhysand opens the prison door and they go in. And it's a terrifying little child. Rhysand gives him a bone, and it's apparently the calf bone that made the final kill when Feyre killed the Midgard worm in the task under the mountain.
Smart. He was thinking ahead.
He was thinking ahead, clearly. Rhysand told Feyre not to lie to the bone carver and also instructed her that for every question the bone carver asks, she can ask one, a question for a question. The bone carver says he will answer Feyre's question if she tells him where she went when she died. She says she heard the crack of her spine, but was gone before she could feel more than the first flash of pain. She says it was dark, but she saw a tether, a thread that she yanked on, and then suddenly she could see. She explains that she could see through Rhysand's eyes. She knew she was dead, but a scrap of her spirit was left, thanks to their bargain. When she was made anew, she followed the thread back to her body. The bone carver asks if she saw anything else, anyone else, or a portal to somewhere else, and she says no. She asks him if there was nothing but a bit of bone, could the person be resurrected and given a new body? They're talking about Jurian here. The bone carver asks if their soul had been preserved, and Feyre says yes. There is only one way. The bone carver says long before the High Fae, there was the cauldron. All magic was contained in it, and the world was born in it. It fell into the wrong hands and was used to do terrible things, but was stolen back. The cauldron could not be destroyed, so it was hidden. Only the cauldron could reforge something dead. Rhysand asks where they hid it, and the bone carver says it was hidden beneath a frozen lake in Lapland, but vanished a long, long time ago. The bone carver doesn't know where it was, but notes that 3 feet of the cauldron were cut off to try and fracture some of the cauldron's powers. The feet were hidden in 3 different temples, Cesare, Sangriva, and Ithaca. If the feet had been taken, then he says it is likely that someone has the cauldron and wants to be able to use its full power. Rhys asks who has it. The bone carver asks him to promise to give Rhys Feyre's bones when she dies, but says he knows he wouldn't do it. Feyre suddenly tells the bone carver that there was a choice in death. She chose to cling on a little longer, but knows if she wanted to, she could have faded away, and maybe there was a new world waiting for her, but she wasn't ready. The bone carver confirms the king of Hybern has the cauldron. Feyre realizes that he is waiting for another truth, and so she says that if the third fairy under the mountain hadn't been Tamlin, she was planning to put the dagger in her own heart after she killed them all. She says she couldn't come back from what she did and only wanted to break this curse before turning the dagger on herself. She says she only chose to live after Amarantha killed her and she realized she hadn't finished whatever she was born to do. The carver tells them that the king could do other things with the cauldron, including shattering the wall that separates Prythian from the mortal lands.
Dun, dun, dun.
He also tells her that the cauldron's power can be depleted. She asks if there's a way to stop it. When it was made, the last of the molten ore was used to forge a book, the Book of Breathings. In it is the spell needed to negate the cauldron's power or control it completely. The book was split in 2 pieces after the war, 1 piece given to the Fae and 1 to the 6 mortal queens. The book was seen as useless as only someone made, capital M, can speak the spells and summon its power, which means that Feyre, who was made,
literally made, yeah,
could use it. But so could Jurian if he was made.
Ooh. Oh, I never thought of that.
Me neither, honestly. The High Lord of the Summer Court has 1 piece of the book. It's guarded and protected with spells using blood spells, keyed to the High Lord of Summer. The mortal queens have the other half, and use the fairies to bind the book so that if it is ever stolen, it will melt into ore and be lost. The bone carver tells her if she reunites both parts of the book, she can nullify the powers of the cauldron. They go to leave, and the bone carver says he will carve Feyre's death into the bone he was given.
No, that's creepy. I will say, like, from the point that he starts talking, like, a precocious child is creepy in and of itself. But the whole, like, a child being like, I will carve your death into it, I'd be like, so are you spelling my death?
That's terrifying.
Or are you just projecting it? They were asked less questions at that point than I would have.
Honestly, but he wasn't going to answer any of them.
I would have fought away.
So they leave, and she asks Rhysand what he saw. The bone carver appeared to him like Jurian the last time Rhysand saw him alive.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, because they didn't tell him that they were asking about Jurian.
Okay.
So, Chapter 19. They return to Valaris, and Rhysand tells the inner circle what the bone carver revealed. Azrael offers to ask his contacts in the Summer Court for the location of their half of the book, and Rhysand declines. He doesn't trust anyone else with the information. Rhysand thinks they will need to infiltrate Hybern to get the cauldron or nullify it. Rhysand thinks Feyre might be able to detect the book and help them find the half in the Summer Court. The book is spelled to the individual High Lord's power, but Feyre got a piece of power from all 7 of them when she was made. Ooh. Rhys believes she can use that piece from the Summer Court High Lord to track the book. And he says there's a way to test this theory. He wants her to try and find a valuable item of his that has been missing for a very long time. He wants to take her to the Weaver of the Woods. She's terrifying.
I'm terrified. This whole section.
It's so creepy and I love it. If Feyre, they're going to basically see if she can identify this missing object that's keyed apparently to Rhysand's blood or power. Uh-huh. The others think that he's out of his mind, and they say the Weaver is an ancient, wicked creature and he should find another way to test her. But Rhys lets Feyre decide if she wants to go or not, and she says yes. Rhys also asks if Feyre wants to be the emissary for the Night Court to the human world, as they haven't had one in over 500 years. He says that the humans need to be prepared for a war. He warns her that as she is an immortal Fae now, humans will want to hunt her. She'll need to set up base in neutral territory, and they decide on her sister's manor house. They need Feyre to convince the human queens to give them the book. Feyre realizes part of the reason he wanted her to learn to read was so she would be able to read the book, as he had already suspected they would need it. Rhys gives her a belt of knives and says she can't take a bow, arrows, or sword, but the Weaver won't notice if she brings knives. He tells her not to make a sound while in the Weaver's home. He tells her only to touch the object that belongs to him. The Weaver is blind, but her other senses are lethal. He can't grab the item himself because the Weaver knows him, but also the High Lords are not allowed to interfere with her. Which brings us to chapter 20. Also, real quick, and I just want to make sure that we remember to talk about this, Feyre's family still doesn't know that she died and came back Fae.
Yeah, they have no clue.
Like, she's just been gone for months at this point.
Well, they think she was with an aunt, right?
No.
Tamlin told her?
They already know that she...
I forgot about that, yeah. They did think she was with an aunt, and then she just went away.
She just pieces out to go and save her High Lord of the Spring Court, and, like, that is the last time they hear from her.
Yes, it is. I forgot about that. I mean, in her defense, probably wouldn't communicate with my family much either if my family was them.
I mean, true.
They were a nightmare.
It's true.
They're awful.
Yeah. Chapter 20. Rhys and Feyre winnow to a wood in neutral territory that divides the north and south of Prythian. Cassian tried to convince Rhys not to take Feyre, and she asks why. Rhys says he isn't sure, but that Cassian is probably more interested in sleeping with Feyre than saving her. Rhys says that if she was looking for someone to sleep with to help her move on, then Cassian would be willing, and it annoys Feyre, so she tells Rhys that he should tell Cassian to come to her room that night. This is Feyre being so sassy.
It is Feyre being sassy.
It's Rhysand being, dare I say it, a bit of a drama queen.
He is being drama queen. I do think he's also, like, if you want the choice, very willing partner.
I have a lot of thoughts on this whole, on like, the high school dating drama of it all that we'll talk about in Deep Dive.
Yeah, because, like, clearly they're flirting. Like, that's not new. Like, very clearly there's this, like, flirtatious...
There's a flirty energy between them.
And she's just like, no, don't go tell me to sleep with your friend.
As soon as she gets annoyed, though, she realizes that Rhys is attempting to wind her up and make her angry to distract her from the terrifying thing she's about to do.
Yeah.
They reach the Weaver's cottage, and Feyre can hear her singing inside, which I'll read the lyrics because they're creepy and I love them.
Terrifying.
She goes inside and sees it is filled with items. The Weaver is sitting at a spinning wheel, but isn't spinning wool. She is instead spinning a part of some creature into thread. She has a ton of woven thread in there and also a loom. Feyre starts searching and finally feels the object. She finds a ring of twisted strands of gold and silver, flecked with pearl and set with a stone of deep blue. She grabs the ring, and as she does, the Weaver suddenly stops singing. And that's where we leave you.
Oh, wow.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm literally stunned. Yes. Yeah, that woman is... Anywho.
Yeah.
We can't get into all of the detail as to why.
We can't tell you why she's terrifying until the next episode.
But
But I can read you the lyrics soon.
Yeah, the creepy singing and I think weaving a thing into a loom of thread is utterly terrifying. Yeah.
Yes. All right, section superlatives?
Yes.
Section superlatives.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
We got drama queen.
I don't even know.
Like,
don't Mor and Amren get into a fight, like, really quickly into this dinner?
It's more like they're all talking, and Mor is like, we're just talking, and I just want to eat. Can we talk after we eat?
Yeah.
But Cassian is also kind of like, can we eat?
Cassian is kind of always the drama queen, I feel like.
He brings the drama.
He's a very exuberant man.
Yeah.
But I remember, I think there's, like, this section, and maybe it's not here, but Mor and Amren fight a lot, and I always feel like it's very petty and dramatic.
It is.
Not that women fighting is petty and dramatic, but their fights because they're both so powerful.
Yeah.
That they just like get in these like bickering things, so they don't get into larger confrontations.
Yeah.
They're also very different people with different values, but
yeah, I think so. I think that's probably right. It's hard to pin down a drama queen for this section.
We meet a lot of new people, so
the bone carver's a drama queen.
He's the theater kid.
Yeah.
He is very dramatic. You're not wrong. I don't think of it as like a drama queen thing, but he is very dramatic.
He is. Are you kidding? He's like, let me terrify this mortal fae girl thing. It's going to be great. I'm going to ask her for her bones when she dies. I'm going to carve her death into this bone. It's going to be great. And, like, his interactions with Rhysand are also, like, he's very, like, you're always my favorite. You're so much smarter than everyone else. Like, he is very much.
Which is, he's playing to the things that they know they hate. Because, like, Rhys doesn't. That's not true. Rhys is vain. He likes praise. He does. But I don't think he likes praise for the things that... Like, he likes praise for his actions, not for, like, his title.
And also his looks.
Yes. Weirdly enough, him being smart, not important to him.
Yeah.
Like, that seems inconsequential, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, he's not vain about that. Like, that's just, like, a fact.
Also, like, all of the questions that the bone carver asked Feyre were like, what happens when you die? Do you go anywhere?
He's every emo child ever.
I would say that he's the drama queen of the section.
That's true. He's, like, the edgelord of the section.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I was like, drama queen was when I associate with that, but that's accurate. Yeah, like, over the top, dramatic.
Quite a flair, that one.
Yes. Yeah.
Craziest thing to happen.
Where to begin? I mean, the bone carver thing is pretty...
Terrifying.
I think, interestingly to me, something that stood out when I read the section the first time is the amulet. Mm-hmm. And how, like, in my head, I get that, like, you're taking it in so you can get out. If I was Feyre, I would be more terrified about the fact that I could lose this thing, and the creatures that are in there could leave.
That's so true.
Right?
Yeah. Never thought of that.
I did immediately. My anxiety immediately kicked in because I drop things all the time, and I'd be like, I'll somehow drop it in a section where I'm not supposed to, and someone's just gonna snatch it. They're all gone.
Yeah.
Like, I step 1 foot into this prison, and the entirety...
And, like,
of the world
leaving.
Collapses. Yeah. Because I dropped something. Or tripped. Yeah. Or, like, if she does die in there, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to take the amulet. They're going to run.
Exactly.
Also, like, Amber just doesn't know her well. So, like, trusting her with it just seemed interesting.
That is wild. It is. I also think Rhysand's story of, like, what actually happened, how he actually saved Valaris was, like...
That was interesting.
Like, the Amarantha's plaything, we already knew that.
That wasn't shocking to me,
But the whole, like, he, with his limited power, was still mind-controlling, like,
hundreds of people? Oh, at least, yeah.
More?
I mean, yeah, especially people that, like, seemingly aren't good people.
Yeah.
Which we're also running under the assumption at this point that we think Rhys is good. We don't really know.
Yeah.
We're running under this assumption. He's treating Feyre well, but that...
He is. And they fought on the side of the mortals in the big war, and they're trying to prevent atrocities from happening again.
So we're running under this assumption. There are also bad people that do good things.
There are.
So...
And he does say that he would become a monster if it meant keeping the people that he loved safe.
To me, I don't think that is a negative.
I don't either.
I think it's a positive trait.
I think that's very positive.
I do too. That is one of my favorite book tropes, which is very much like what this is leaning into, of that like touch her and you die kind of trope.
Yeah.
With like anyone that he loves. It is.
Yeah.
It is
so good.
Beautiful. It's one of my favorites.
It's so good.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to. Let's do a list of new characters that we officially finally meet.
Yes.
So we finally are actually introduced to Azriel and Cassian.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. They are in the interwebs, commonly referred to as the Bat Boys.
They are the Bat Boys. It's the three boys.
It's the three boys. Yeah. Rhysand has wings as well.
Yes.
We already
but
know
his
this.
is like a shifting thing, so it's like his isn't all the time.
Yes, but they are known as the Bat Boys, and they are absolutely beloved.
They are. I am actually curious about this from this section for you. Did you have a favorite one immediately?
I immediately liked Cassian.
Me?
I was very much in my Rhysand era at this point in time, and this book does a lot for him, but Cassian was already my second favorite.
Same. I do love Rhys. Picking between the three of them is really complicated. Yeah. I think, personally, I'll have a better understanding, well, I can't give away things. Anywho, but I also immediately liked Cassian a lot more. I love very exuberant and, goofy, fun people, and he's so solid in that category. Also love a big boy.
Yeah.
He's just a mountain of a man.
He is big, yeah.
So,
yeah, no, I immediately liked him. I like all of them. I mean...
Oh, yeah, they're all likable. Outside of Amryn, but she's likable in a way.
Yeah, I love Amryn.
I also love Amryn, but when you first meet Amryn, she's not likable.
No. I was immediately like, who is I love this person.
Well, I also love...
I think in the book, if you're a character in the book, she's not.
Yes, I like mean women, so that's fine. I also know that about, especially, mean book character women.
Yeah.
She's also, just presented as, maybe not mean, just, cold.
She's just, aloof and, scary.
Yeah, which is fun.
Yeah. I like it.
No, I like her. So, Amryn's another person we meet.
Yes.
Segueing into that.
Yeah.
But
we also get to meet the Bone Carver, who we've, I think, discussed at length now.
Yeah, he is terrifying.
And we very briefly meet the Weaver. And let me read those lyrics now, because this is a good...
They're haunting.
...introduction to her character.
If I was Feyre and I heard this song, I would immediately turn around and be like, we're finding another way to do this.
I would cry.
Immediately. She is a brave woman. Braver than me.
The words of her song became clear now, her voice sweet and beautiful like sunlight on a stream. There were two sisters, they went playing to see their father's ships come sailing. And when they came unto the sea brim, the elder did push the younger in. A honeyed voice for an ancient horrible song. I'd heard it before, slightly different, but sung by humans who had no idea that it had come from fairy throats. Sometimes she sank and sometimes she swam till her corpse came to the miller's dam. And now this is all happening while Feyre is sneaking into the house and trying to find the thing.
I don't know if you were watching this, I literally got a shiver, a full body shiver the moment you started that. It is truly terrifying to me.
It's so scary.
Something about adult people singing creepy children's fairy tale things in a way that's supposed to be intimidating. That no.
And so while we're walking around and in between this song, we get a description, which I'll read for you. Her thick hair was of richest onyx, tumbling down to her slender waist as she worked the wheel, snow-white hands feeding and pulling the thread around a thorn-sharp spindle. She looked young, her gray gown simple but elegant, sparkling faintly in the dim forest light through the window as she sang in a voice of glittering gold. But what did he do with her breastbone? He made him a viol to play on. What did he do with her fingers so small? He made pegs to his viol withal. And what did he do with her nose ridge? Unto his vial he made a bridge. And what did he do with her veins so blue? He made strings to his vial thereto. What did he do with her eyes so bright? On his vial he set at first light. What did he do with her tongue so rough? 'Twas the new till, and it spoke enough. Then bespake the treble string, O yonder is my father the king. Then bespake the second string, O yonder sits my mother the queen. Then bespake the strings all three, Yonder is my sister that drowned me. My hand was quiet as a final dying breath as I plucked the ring from the shelf. The weaver stopped singing.
The singing is terrifying. The stopping singing
so much scarier.
Worse.
And I kid you not, I think in the audiobook and especially the dramatized version. It's so creepy. But I distinctly remember reading this chapter for the first time because it was at night.
Oh.
And I was alone. My husband wasn't. He was. I think he was working at one of the bars. Yeah. That closed down a little later. So he wasn't getting home until 2 a.m. at that time.
Gotcha.
And so I was reading it in the dark alone, and I had to watch an episode of Gilmore Girls.
I would need something else.
I was like, oh my god.
I usually only read these in the daylight. Especially these books have not been. They've been intense, but I wouldn't say they've been creepy.
Yeah.
Or spooky necessarily. The end of this one, Court of Thorns and Roses, was a little bit.
A little.
But not this kind of I don't know, gripping terror where it's luring you.
Yeah.
It's Hansel and Gretel. She is
the witch in the woods.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the Weaver, folks. And I think this is a really good time to segue into Hot or a Beast before we dive into Colleen's Corner.
I forgot this is a thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Are they hot or are they a beast?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Let's start with our familiar favorites. Feyre. She's getting hotter.
She is getting hotter. She's also getting more beastly. She woke up with flaming claws.
Yeah.
Don't remember that fact.
Yeah.
Also really cool.
Yeah, less feral, more beast.
Yes, which there's different kinds of beast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's kind of both.
Yeah.
But I feel yeah.
Yeah, but she's getting hotter.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Agreed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's becoming herself again.
She's coming into, I think, she's finding herself.
Yeah,
she's like every girl that went off to college.
Yeah.
She's finding herself.
She's
on her gap year.
She is on her gap year, literally.
She is.
What about Rhysand?
That man's been hot since we met him.
I know. He's a little more beastly, too, though.
So, yes and no. In this section, I think he's more just hot.
Mm.
In the next section, more beastly. Because I know what's coming. In this section, he's just very suave.
He is very suave.
He's very suave. He's kind of just come on.
He's so compassionate, too.
Yes.
Which is super hot.
No, that's hot. Yeah, emotions are hot.
Yeah, emotions are hot.
Yeah, as well as emotional intelligence is.
Yeah, for
Which
sure.
he seems to have. He seems to understand. He's also old.
He is
so I
old.
think that helps. He's older than Tamlin by a couple 100 years.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we know that by now. So
he fought in that war.
Yeah, that Tamlin knows
was too young.
to fight in. Yeah, so he's also an older. I think there's an element of you can tell that he's matured into a person. He's a very mature Fae.
He is a mature Fae. Yeah.
Yeah, but hot.
Mm. All right, Cassian.
Hot.
He's
so
and
hot.
A beast.
And I think he would prefer to be called a beast, but I think he thinks a beast is hot.
It's one and the same for him.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I also think it's interesting that he's I'm not, I don't have powers.
Yeah.
But I'm powerful.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me.
He really owns in the inner circle. He is the only one without quote unquote powers, other than the Illyrian killing power, which the siphons are for.
Which is just naturally what they have.
Which is what they have. He's yeah, no, I'm just strong.
And that's all that man wants. I think that's all he has because it's all he wants.
Yeah.
I go back and forth with Cassian or Rhysand better, and it depends on the day.
I think so too. Like right now while we've been reading this, I know I love Cassian, and I know that I grow to love him so much more on the journey.
When you're reading these books, Rhysand is incredible.
He is. He really like, is.
I think it would trying to see them side by side in those contexts. I also we're getting these books from the perspective of them trying to romance somebody.
Yeah.
So I think that makes a difference.
That's a very good point.
Rhys is being very romantic.
Yeah.
Or maybe not romantic, but mischievously flirtatious.
Yeah, he's being very main male character.
Yes, he is. So,
yeah. Let's talk about
Asriel, or as he's colloquially known in the internet. I am going to be honest with you, never left an impression on me.
Really?
I know she says he's classically beautiful.
Yeah.
I think I just couldn't picture what that meant in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I do. But, I don't know. I haven't really,
Well, he is giving very other right now. He's, almost kind of neither.
We just don't get a lot about him. I'm getting more, sad.
Yeah.
He's giving sad.
He's like Rhysand, but, still going through the emo phase.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had a lot going on.
That's true.
He's also, basically trained himself to be not seen or heard.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot.
He is a spy master, so there's that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more there. I also think he's surrounded by people with incredibly large personalities.
Yeah. He's just kind of normal. A normal sized personality. As I would say kind of he's in an other category right now.
I think if we saw him, we don't get a great description. I think we would be oh, he's hot. I think he is supposed to be.
He's supposed to be hot.
I think he's supposed to look like Xaden from Fourth Wing.
Oh, yeah.
Which is hot.
Yeah.
I think we just don't get a great description of him.
That's
but
true.
I think that's what he's supposed to look like.
I could see that.
Which is
hot.
Mm-hmm.
Hot or a beast? Amryn.
Hot. And
beast. Yeah.
I would say more beastly than hot.
Me too. But definitely hot.
But yeah, no, hot.
Definitely.
Scary women are hot.
They are.
They are. That's a trope for a reason. Angelina Jolie, I think, is a good
Yeah. Terrifying beautiful.
Woman, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Very much in that category. Megan Fox to me is kind of in that category.
Oh yeah, she is also.
Well.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. There is a lot of just as a tidbit that headcanon are people think that Amryn is an Asian woman.
I could see it.
Which makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I do like the fan cast where they have Asian women.
Yes, I think I've only ever pictured her as an Asian woman, even from the description.
I picture all of these people as cartoons in my head.
That is fair. I do kind of, because I've seen a lot of fan art. I do have a very particular fan art that I think of when I think of Moore. That's really the only one. And Rhys, to a degree, but I don't like a lot of the fan art I've seen of Rhys.
I know that Moore is a beast, but she's just hot right now.
No, she's just hot.
Yeah.
We never...
supremely hot.
Yes. Yes, she is in slinky red dresses. She's the person we want to be, right? Where she can effortlessly throw on a slinky nightgown and not look like she's stuffed in a sausage casing.
She gives Serena Vanderwoodson.
She does, and it's annoying. Honestly, Amryn's not too far off from Blair.
That's true.
Why would they bigger?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It does.
Did
I tell you I finished watching it?
No.
I finished, and then I immediately started again.
No,
Just the first episode.
I need to. I've been on this different rabbit hole of it, but once I'm done with it, I will get back into Gossip Girl. We love Gossip Girl. We're going to make a lot of Gossip Girl and Vampire Diaries references.
Yes. For example, Chuck Bass is Rhysand. Later seasons.
Yeah, kind of. Well, he is Rhys, what we think of in the first book.
Yeah.
He is early season Chuck.
Yes.
And then later season Chuck, 100% Rhysand.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gives you some context. If you know about Gossip Girl, but you haven't read these books, you know what's coming.
Exactly.
Kind of.
Cassian is totally Nate Archibald.
Yeah, but I don't like Nate that much.
I know, but he's just kind of he's not actually dumb, but he comes off as dumb, and he's really pretty.
That's fair. That's valid. I was to me, he's almost more of, there's something about Nate that just really rubs me the wrong way. I don't know.
All of his romantic choices? Because those rubbed me the wrong way, too.
It's every choice
the boy could not make a good choice.
In his life. Him and Serena honestly deserve each other.
They do. They're the same.
They're the same. Serena, I love her deeply. No, I really don't. I don't like Serena that much. She annoys the hell out of me. Yeah. I love like the vibe of Serena.
Yes. But actual Serena sucks.
Nightmare fuel.
Blair all the way.
Blair's choices were at least logical, even if they were like weird choices. They were logical.
They were
choices.
logical. Like I could see myself making those choices.
I truly I modeled myself after her. The first I went to a single fashion show in college, and literally the person that I was like going with knew that I was super into Gossip Girl, and he's like, you have to wear a headband. And so I wore a headband to this fashion show because
I love that.
That's what Blair Waldorf would do.
Love it for you.
Yeah, just so you know.
I love that. Mm-hmm. The bone carver?
I have a hard time categorizing it because it's a child.
Well, also could be hot to someone else.
But not the child.
No,
yes.
Not the child.
Okay.
No. But like the bone carver could appear as the hottest person alive to someone.
To someone, yeah. Which, I mean, we don't know what Rhysand's type is.
We
it
could
be
idea.
Jurian.
It could be Jurian.
We don't know. Like, maybe, but actually, I feel like it would often show up as a very attractive person, because I think that would be very, like...
Yeah.
Like, jarring.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, in theory, it's a boggart.
It is a boggart.
It's a boggart of a person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I have a hard time. I love the bone carver.
I do too.
I just have a hard time putting any sort of like association with him because we only ever see him as a child.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's exempt from this.
Do we never see him through Rhysand's eyes? I guess we don't. We don't get Rhysand's perspective.
No, not with the bone carver. It's always from Feyre's perspective. And so, because I've heard people say like the bone carver is on their like hear me out cakes, and I get it. I do like personality-wise 100% get it.
Yeah, no, love it.
So let's say personality, hot.
Everything else, beast.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So there we go. That's our category.
There we go. And then the weaver.
Both.
From what we know, she is both.
She is both. She is utterly, I think like her being attractive is worse.
It is worse.
Like her being this like enchanting,
yeah.
She's a siren.
She is a siren.
This like enchanting, beautiful woman that's, you know, singing and luring all of these people in and then just absolutely destroying you in the process.
Yeah.
She's where I want to be.
Weaving stuff out of you.
I would love to be a siren. Not like, I don't want to weave people.
You don't want to weave people into things?
Not particularly. No. The thought of that, like, I'm getting nauseous thinking about it.
We can move on.
No, it's okay. No, I'm fine. I'm not that. But like the concept of it does make me like
it's bad.
Queasy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, Colleen.
My corner. I actually don't.
Colleen's corner.
Okay. So, what I thought of in this section, which I think is a big chunk of this section that I think we've touched on a little bit, but we've talked about like Feyre's relationships with people and seeing their dynamics throughout these books. She's getting a very different perspective of how like a family, which is essentially how they functions.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
In this section, because like her family's always been dysfunctional. She's never really had like a normal family structure to model. I think most of the families around her were very similar to hers, even like when they were more wealthy. It seemed like, oh gosh, what is his name? The farmer boy? Isaac's family seemed relatively normal.
Isaac's family was normal. What a callback. We love you, Isaac.
We love you, Isaac. Honestly, best man of the books.
Still.
Out of all of them, yeah. But I think from like even her being like, oh, I'm now realizing how dumb it was that Ianthe Tamlin somehow convinced me that I can't learn how to fight and how that's going to be threatening. Because, like, so many people in this world know how to fight. Like, this is not, like, a singular to her thing. So I think seeing the dynamic of, like, seeing Mor and Amren being able to bicker and being fine and, like, seeing them, like, I think they end up, like, teasing each other quite a bit in this context and how, like, they're in very casual
attire
for this dinner, which I know we covered last time, but, like, they're very casual, very relaxed. Mor's like, I want to eat. Y'all can shut up. I'm going to eat. Like, it's a very, like, normal, I think it's that found family thing, but so it's kind of, like, between family and friend, depending, but I think seeing that dynamic for Feyre has to be, I would say, confusing, and I don't think we get into that necessarily in this section. I think she's so busy on being like, I have to impress them, because that's all she's known. She's only known the spring court where she had to, you know, like, dress up in prim and proper and eat properly and speak properly to all of these people.
I actually have an excerpt that you should maybe read.
Gorgeous. Very interesting. Okay, so I actually do love Mor. I think just a tidbit, if you ever, like, go on any online discourse about this book, people really dunk on Mor I don't think it's fair.
I don't either.
I love more deeply. I think she's got, so this is, I think, her talking to Feyre. Let me tell you 2 things. As someone who has perhaps been in your shoes before, again, that shared bond of anger, of pain throbbed between them all, save for Amren, who was giving me a look dripping with distaste. 1, Moore said, you have left the spring court. I try not to let the full weight of those words sink in. Yeah, also, context, she's like sent her letter that she's left, right?
Yeah.
At this point, so she's fully left. She's dealing with all
She's
of this.
gone.
If that does not send a message, for good or bad, then your training will not either. 2, she continued, laying her palm flat on the table. I once lived in a place where the opinion of others mattered. It suffocated me, nearly broke me. So you'll understand me, Feyre, when I say that I know that you feel, and I know what they tried to do to you, and that with enough courage, you can say to hell with your reputation. Her voice gentled, and the tension between them faded. With it, you do what you love, what you need.
Ugh, I'm like tearing up.
I am too. I actually had to pause for a second in the middle of that, but I don't think Feyre's ever been given the chance to do something for herself that wasn't that, like, I don't know, the painting thing I think was part of it, and that is a big part of her.
Yeah.
But I think being told that she doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to have this, like, I don't know, the weight of the world is kind of on her shoulders in this context, because there does seem to be a lot of expectation of, like, her reading this book and doing all of these things.
Yeah.
We don't know that yet, but it's going to come.
But it's there, yeah.
But I think the expectation is more of, it is your choice whether you want to accept it.
Yeah.
But we also trust you to accept it.
Yes.
And we trust you to come into your power, and you deserve every right in the world to become your own person and to be independent and to be able to fight for yourself. And we can give you those tools if you are willing to accept them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is the point where she's like, oh yeah, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Why would me training send a bad message? Like, she's like, only now have I realized how stupid it was.
If you have ever been in a context, which I'm sure if you are a woman, you probably have, or a person of color, or some of those things where, like, there's this, you grow up in a world where the expectation is you are one thing, and then, an experience of a lot of people that go to college, you're taken out of that context and put in a different one. Your world opens up vastly.
Yeah.
And you realize how much more you are capable of and how much more you can do and how much other people don't want you to do those things.
Yeah.
And how a lot of other people have tried very, very hard to put you in the box that they want you in.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you feel like you've fought and you've gotten out of it, so many more people will try to put you back in it.
Yeah.
And that's a hard pill to swallow.
It is.
And there's a reason that a lot of 19-year-old women are very, very angry.
Yes.
They learn these things. Some
Yes.
of us older women have been a little more used to it and have found
a little less angry.
It's less anger and more just, it's not acceptance, but
No.
we have found our own ways to navigate them.
Yeah.
And I think Feyre, which she's like 19.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she's more is where we're at. We are more.
Yes.
In this context of, like, I know what it's like. I know what you've been through, and I know you're going to get to where you need to.
Yeah.
You've sent all your messages. Take what you want.
Yeah.
And take what we're giving you. It's not even what you want. It's take what we're trying to give you so you can do the things that you want to do with your life.
Exactly. And that's so interesting that you even bringing up, like, the painting in book 1 at that point in time, we, through Feyre's eyes, don't even really fully grasp, I think, that she does, at that point in time, still need more than just being able to paint. That is something that is kind of shoved down her throat by Tamlin, because she does still keep being like, let me help, let me do something useful. And then she's like, well, I guess I'll just sit here and paint like I've always wanted to do, but it's not what she needs for herself.
Yes. So especially with the context of, like, so painting is an acceptable female thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? So Tamlin is very much about, like, the acceptable thing. Tamlin is very, like, mainstream, typical, like, typical view on femininity is what he grew up with and what he is used to and the expectation. And it's also what Feyre grew up with. I mean, she grew up in a finishing house kind of thing when she was younger. Like, you learn to paint, you learn to dance. Like,
yeah,
that's the expectation of what she was, like, a cotillion type thing if you're from the South. Like, very proper, like, you paint, you sew, You do all of those things. You don't work. You get married. You have babies. That is your life.
That is it.
That was the expectation. And that's also what Tamlin wants. So she's like, well, let me help. And Tamlin's mind's like, well, women don't help.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's even necessarily intentionally, like, trying to hold her down.
No. I mean, everything he does from his own point of view is with love.
Well, I think he's like, no, that's my job.
Yeah.
You don't have to do. And that's what he's doing it from that. He's like, no, you don't have to do that. I can take care of it for us. Mm-hmm. You can just paint.
Yeah.
And it is something that she likes, but she wants to do more. She wants to be helpful. She has that, like, nurturing thing, which is typically associated with the feminine trait. I don't think it's a negative.
No, I don't think it's a
men
negative.
Can be nurturing too. I think it can be warped.
I think so.
I think the way that women approach it is different than typically men.
And also specifically for Feyre, in that she was given no choice but to take. She was the caretaker of her family for 4 years.
She was essentially the masculine role.
Very traumatic context.
Yes.
And so that, for better or for worse, that's a part of who she is.
It is woven into the thread of who she is at this point. And I don't think it's a part of her that she disliked. There's a reason that she did it.
Yeah.
There's a reason that her sisters didn't.
Correct.
It is a part of her. Her sisters don't have that thing in them.
They don't.
And I just think it's... Yeah. So Moore is giving her the power that she needs to be able to take what she wants. And I think... Again, like I said, all of us have gone through it. Learning and waking up to that takes a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. And, like, not unpacking is quite the right word, but, like, you have to get yourself there. It's not just going to be, like, they're offering you this thing and suddenly, like, oh, yeah, of course. To me, that's not realistic. That's not how I was. I think some characters are that way in novels, and to me, that's just never how my experience was, and I'm not related to them in the same way in that.
Yeah.
Arya Stark is actually one of those characters. I think she's a great character, but the way that she handles things is never the way that I would have handled them. If you ever watched Game of Thrones, is a good comparison. I'm more of a Sansa Stark person, and the way that she handles things is probably closer to what I would have done, and the way that she handled her power and things. So, anyhow.
I love that.
That's what I have.
Female friendship and
just...
powerful.
It's incredible, especially when you have someone who has been kind of through that. Honestly, younger women... highly, highly recommend having women who are older than you in your life.
Yes.
That is not your parents. That is not your family. To help you. Your mother. Love your mom. Hello, Mom.
Yes.
Your parents and your mothers are wonderful.
They're great, but they're also your mother.
Yes. And you've heard their perspective.
Yes. Your whole life.
Yes, you've heard them. And so you need I have a lot of older female women that speak into my life. And I appreciate them deeply. So highly recommend.
Yeah.
So.
Same.
Yeah.
All right, but let's get into deep dive discussion, shall we?
Time for a deep dive.
I have a couple of things to read.
Okay, I'm ready. Gotta shift myself. Also, this chair, I don't know if you can hear it in the recording. It's so squeaky. We'll not be using this one next time.
Okay, so I have this note that I just labeled "The plot thickens."
Oh.
So while all of this, so much is happening, and I think the pacing of this section of chapters is great because, like, so much is happening, and as a reader, you get a little overwhelmed, but also Feyre, like, so much is happening for her in this timeline, and she's overwhelmed, and we feel that.
This book is definitely, I think we eventually get some of Rhys's perspective, but in general, we're Feyre.
Yeah,
walking
we are
through
Feyre.
This world with her.
Yeah. So the plot thickens. So she left the Spring Court, she's grieving and healing, and finding herself, and she's meeting these new people, and she's also gaining a lot of knowledge and context of the larger world of Prythian.
It's huge.
And also her own world, and its part in this whole thing. She's learning the history of Prythian, too, while all of this is happening.
Yes.
And then also, the plot thickens.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, they're talking about, Rhysand thinks that the king of Hybern wants to resurrect Jorian.
Ooh.
And Moore cuts in and says, well, even if he were to resurrect Jorian, all 7 High Lords would have to agree to that. Moore countered, there's not a chance it happens. He'll take another route. Her eyes narrowed to slits as she faced Rhys. All the slaughtering, the massacres at the temples, you think it's tied to this? I know it's tied to this. I didn't want to tell you until I knew for certain, but Azriel confirmed that they'd raided the memorial in Sangriva 3 days ago. They're looking for something, or found it. Azriel nodded in confirmation, even as Moore cast a surprised look in his direction. I breathed, that's why the ring and the finger bone vanished after Amarantha died, for this. But who? My mouth went dry. They never caught the adder, did they? Rhys said too quietly, no, they didn't. Enter conspiracy and intrigue and mortal danger and peril.
Yeah, just immediate.
Just like this whole, it's like you're living in not a rom-com. It's like you're living your life in like a drama.
Yeah.
Right? Like, essentially.
It's intense, but, like, this is the end of the drama movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's the end, and you're living happily in your, like,
like, you've made it to a place where you're going to be able to start moving on and healing, and it's, like, the happy conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, there might be a sequel, but that is still, like, a drama sequel. Except, nope, just kidding, it's a spy thriller on, like, epic proportions. It's like the Fast and Furious 10, where it's, like, world domination. You know? Like, they're fighting, like, terrorists of world domination and stuff.
Brings me a lot of joy that you brought the Fast and Furious back up. I love these.
I love the Fast and Furious.
If you are a newer listener, this is a great callback for me. I love these movies so much. I'm like actually about to cry thinking about it. I love them deeply. It's also just such a funny callback. But if you haven't seen it, the Fast and Furious is the fantasy world that I would like to live in. It is a fantasy world. You can fight me on that.
It is.
So yeah, anywho, but I agree with you on the 10th one. If you haven't seen the 10th one, if you haven't, go watch it. It's got Jason Momoa.
It is. I was so mad that it's only part 1.
It's really good. Okay, it's not like an artful masterpiece. That's not the point.
It is. If it was not split in 2, I would agree with you.
That's fair. I think I forgot it was split in 2, to be honest.
I was really mad.
I haven't seen it in a hot minute.
Because don't get me wrong, I freaking love the Fast and Furious franchise. I love those movies. Mm-hmm. Even all the way up till 9, I was like, yes, I was so excited for 10. And then it freaking ended in the middle of a cliffhanger, and I was like, why?
See, that doesn't bother me, to be honest.
It made me so mad.
I mean, I remember being like, oh no, but then I was like, oh, that means they're making more. So for me, I was just more excited that we were gonna get 11.
I was angry.
That's fair. I also like a little cliffhanger though.
I don't mind a cliffhanger, but this was like, I don't know how much you remember.
I'm not a lot, to be honest.
It, but basically, this ginormous like globe sphere thing is crashing through whatever city they're in.
Oh yeah.
And they just managed to stop it.
Oh yeah.
But spoiler alert for Fast 10. But then a bridge blows up and Dom's right near it, and then it ends.
If they ever kill Dom, I will riot.
That's the cliffhanger is he might be dead. And then they ended it, and I was like, furious.
We finally got...
No fast, just furious.
Maybe we should make a spin-off podcast where we watch all the Fast and Furious movies and review them.
We should do that.
It could be like a little bonus.
We're going to do that. It's going to be called The Book Witches Go Cinematic.
And then we could do different movies. Well, we'd actually talked about it at some point, because like a lot of books that we're doing and eventually are planning on doing will be movies and like TV shows and things, especially if we go into the contemporary romance realm. It's most of them.
Yeah.
So, anywho, we thought about doing a little like cinematic review anyway, but we could throw in... I feel like if you read these books, you also like the Fast and Furious.
Like you must. There's definitely a thread there.
I think it's a requirement. And if not, it's okay. We can find a different audience as well for that.
Yeah.
But
so this moment in the book is like you're like living a drama, and then all of a sudden a car comes crashing through, and someone jumps out and is like, "There's terrorists trying to take over the world."
Yeah. Like,
and you're like, "What?"
You're like, I was just like, we were in Downton Abbey.
Yes.
And suddenly we're in the Fast and Furious movies. Like, that's what happened.
Yes.
It's kind of like how in the first book, we were in Beauty and the Beast and suddenly in the Hunger Games.
Yes.
Same format,
Same
just
thing.
in a very different context.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I had another excerpt to read. Hold on, let me pull that up.
We're ready.
Oh, this one is a serious one, so before we switch to that.
Oh, yeah.
I know that we already crowned Rhysand and Cassian, the Bone Carver and Cassian as our drama queens.
Yep.
However, One thing I did not mention in the summary recap of the chapters is that Feyre is hyperfixated on whatever is happening between Mor Cassian and Asriel.
Oh, same. I am so messy. I would do the same thing. No, there is this, like, okay, so we have not brought this up yet.
Yes.
So there is this, like, thing where, like, this is probably also why I don't like Az.
Yeah.
He's, like, intently focused on
Mor. Yeah.
And there clearly seems to be some sort of, it's not flirtatious.
There's, like, a weird tension that feels like it could be romance related.
There's, like, this palpable something.
Yeah.
That's, like, it's very clearly romance geared.
Yes.
We just don't know, but it's not romantic.
Right.
But it's, if you've ever been, it's going to be a weird context to put this in. Choir and band people. Because you're going to know what I'm talking about. There's always those, like, 3 people where, like, 2 of them at one point have dated. One person, but, like, their friend really likes them. But, like, those 2 kind of break up, but they're still friends.
But they're still really good friends.
They're still good friends, and, like, they might get back together.
Yeah.
They're, like, kind of almost on and off again, and there's that one side friend.
Like, they're so still friends that they're still kind of all over each other, but, like, it feels platonic at times.
Yes, but then there's that one person that's, like, probably a tuba player, bless him, that's just, like, really into the girl, right? Or, like, I don't know, like, she's, like, a cute little flute girly, and, you know, he played, like, maybe a trumpet. He played a trumpet, so she's a flute girly, he played the trumpet. If you were in band, this makes sense. And there's...
I was in choir, but it still makes sense.
It's like a soprano.
It's a soprano, alto, and a baritone or something.
Yeah, and, like, but...
Asriel is the baritone.
Yeah.
And the tenor. The tenor, it's a soprano, a tenor, and a baritone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same context.
Cassian is the tenor.
I was in choir for, like, 1 year, so I'm giving you band context. But yeah, it's like the trumpet. Cassian would play a trumpet, immediately Feyre would play a flute. There was no argument on any of that.
Agreed.
I played the saxophone, so, you know.
So you were, like, Rhysand.
I was Rhysand. Yeah, basically. We were the coolest people in the room.
Yeah.
You can argue with me in the comments on that. I will win.
You would not win.
Yeah.
Colleen will win.
I will win. Saxophone is the best instrument in the marching band. Don't get me started. I was in marching, concert, and jazz band. You know, it's fine. Casual for me. Casual flex. But anyhow, if you've ever been in this context and you were in, like, a high school band or a choir, you know.
Yeah.
You know the palpable, like, because it's, like, awkward tension, which is why I mentioned those in particular, because, like, I love band nerds. They're not the most socially aware humans on the planet. It's, like, a weird tension. Yeah. Yeah.
But Feyre is eating that shit up.
She loves Bravo TV.
Yes.
All over it for her.
Vampire Diaries is her favorite show.
Is. Yes. No, 100%. Well, it's our favorite.
Yeah. So is Gossip Girl is also her favorite show.
We are just favorites.
We are. It's fine.
It's fine. We gotta fight better, but it's fine. We'll get there.
Yeah. So, like, she's just, like, all of this is happening, and she's just, like, noticing how, like Asriel is staring intently at Mor, and Mor seems to be, like, wanting to comfort him but doesn't reach for his hand, and then, like, they share apologetic looks between each other, and then, like, her and Cassian have this very easy chemistry that, like, it doesn't feel put on or forced, but it feels a little too familiar. You know what I mean? And, like, Feyre's just sitting at that table watching all of this. And then, like, she even wonders, she's like, did anyone ever try to sleep with Amren? Because, like, Amren's hot, too. Like, she's just so about the drama. It made me so happy.
I will also say, I think it shows a lot of, like, intelligence on her part that I don't think she gets a lot of credit for in a lot of areas. She is incredibly socially intelligent.
Yes.
Like, being an emissary is actually a very good job for her. Like, her and Lucian, I think, got along for which both of them have similar traumas in the way that they had to see people, assess them for the things that they are and the people that they were and what they needed. Yeah. Very quickly. Yeah. And I think she is reading. I also don't think they're subtle about it.
No. No, she's, like, sitting there, like...
And everyone else at this table is just, like, actively trying to pretend.
Trying to ignore it.
Like,
I'm going to move down to this footstool for a bit, because my foot keeps falling asleep.
That is the...
Hi, everyone.
Oh, wow.
I'm real close now.
You look so much shorter.
I look really short, but you can see my tiara, finally.
I look giant. This is incredible. I wanted to be tall most of my life.
You're taller than me.
Not by much, but yes, yeah.
Now you're taller.
You're one of the few people that I actually feel tall around. That and my friend Cindy, she's like 4'11".
Oh, yeah.
She's very small.
I would feel tall around her, too.
Yeah, she is very small.
Yeah. And then to, like, make things, like, so, like, Rhysand is clearly watching Feyre watch all of this.
Yeah.
And it makes me think that that's why he made that, like, little comment, like, you know, you could sleep with Cassian. Because, like, I think he saw her staring at Cassian and was like, is she interested?
Yeah, you know, I always took that scene. I think people took it differently. I truly always took it as him just being like,
being like, you can do it.
you're free to do what you want.
Yeah.
Like, you are truly not beholden to me or to anyone.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to sleep with Cassian, I promise you he will do it in a heartbeat. Because, like, you know, like, after they left or whatever, Cassian was like...
Yeah, he was like, she's so hot.
She's so hot.
Wow.
Like, let me in there, dude.
Yeah.
Let me up in that.
Also, actually, so Cassian is the only person that Feyre's ever met who knows what it's like to have nothing and to be starving.
Well, that's going to be...
Yeah.
Not shared trauma, but, like, an element of, like, shared understanding.
Yeah.
It's an attractive trait.
Yeah.
And quality.
It is.
Meeting people from, like, similar backgrounds definitely is.
Yeah. Knowing what we know now, the thought is just crazy. But before you knew anything, even when I read that for the first time, like I said, I remember that section vividly because I was at home and I terrified myself with it. But I remember reading that and being like, come on, dude. Why?
Yeah. I was also a little bit... I remember being like... I remember thinking... I understood why he did it, but I also remember being like, don't throw her at someone else.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Either let her do that or stop hitting on her, or like
exactly,
or make more of a move. He's in this.
Right.
We're not gonna get into the whole like in between not flirting but flirting thing. It's
I can't even roll my eyes enough.
Anywho,
let's move on to a more serious topic.
Oh no. Okay.
I did want to read this. It's the truth about Valaris. So we know that basically Rhysand sacrificed his body to Amarantha and like did not think he was going to see Valaris again.
Yeah.
Or any of those people. But we did ask, like we brought it up before, like what did that mean for the city? It was being hidden.
Yeah.
What did that mean? So I have a little excerpt here that tells us more about that. But for those here, anyone flying or traveling near Valaris would see nothing but barren rock, and if they tried to walk through it, they'd find themselves suddenly deciding otherwise. Sea travel and merchant trading were halted. Sailors became farmers, working the earth around Valaris instead, and because my powers were focused on shielding them all, Feyre, I had very little to use against Amarantha, so I decided that to keep her from asking questions about the people who mattered, I would be her plaything. So that answers the questions about what happened to Valaris. They all knew what he did for them too, which is wild.
I think for me, in terms of the fact that they all knew, I think would be daunting because typically in these kinds of situations when you're doing that, you don't want to talk about it. You don't really want people to know, or there's a power in controlling who knows.
Yes.
Like, even that power was taken from him.
It was. It's like how Feyre can't stand people to, like, grovel at her feet and be, like, our savior or whatever, because she sacrificed her soul to save Prythian. She killed innocent people to save Prythian, and she feels like she didn't even deserve to live after that.
Yeah.
And then everyone just kind of threw it back in her face. Spring Court.
Yes. They also thought that was expected.
Yes.
That was
right.
What was expected of them.
And, like, Rhysand sacrificed his soul as well to protect Valaris, but it seems like, especially when we see them walking through the city, like, the people of Valaris come up to him and shake his hand and treat him like a person instead of that.
I do think there's also a difference between what they did. So I think that's kind of like similar, which in a different context, but like a soldier coming home from war is probably a little bit more what Feyre's thing is like killing people in the context of like to defend the people that they love. I think there is a element of like where people praise that more kind of thing. There's like that kind of groveling element, and I think when it's something more of like what Rhys did, you just don't talk about it. Yeah. Even though you just don't talk about it. You just kind of are like, oh, you're so great. And like, you dance around the topic. Right. I'm thinking that could contribute to. I also think there's very distinctive differences culturally between the Night Court and the Spring Court, but definitely. I think it's also the type of sacrifices that were made.
The type of sacrifices and the role of the High Lord in each court.
Yes, Rhys wants to be viewed as not humble, but more normal.
He's just like. He is one of the people of the Night Court, in addition to being the High Lord of it. It's like, that's his home and his people in addition, whereas in the Spring Court, it's very, I rule this land.
He seems almost more like a chief, like what you would think of as like a chief, than like a king. Yes. In this context.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Still rules, still like makes the decisions.
In fact, Mor is basically the queen. Yeah. As he said. Yeah. So, but yeah, just wanted to bring it back to a more serious note. If you're new to our podcast, this is our 3rd season. We have done A Court of Thorns and Roses for season 1, and we did Fourth Wing for season 2, and then we came back to ACOTAR, the series. We love what we do. We started this year, and we're going to be coming up on our first anniversary in June of 2025.
We're having a great time.
We're having a great time. And we have some fun things coming up in terms of what we're going to be doing with our podcast, like location-wise.
Yeah, location-wise, book-wise.
Book-wise, partnering with people in our community as well.
If you know someone who wants to partner with us, let us know.
Let us know.
Please do.
We'd be happy to partner with bookstores, cafes.
Authors, if you know any.
And great episode for the first of the year.
This is fun. Yeah. Happy New Year. Happy 2025.
New Year. Oh my God. All right. Well, signing off.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Bye.